Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the MotoGP podcast, Last on the Brakes. We are here live in Termas, the Rio Hondo, on a bit of a different Friday of a Grand Prix weekend. I'm Fran, Wyld, and joining me on co-hosting duties is Elliott York. How are you, Elliott? And would you like to reveal today's guest to all of those joining the stream, and of course our listeners later next week?
Yeah, all good, Fran. Not exactly how we expected our Friday to be going, is it? But making the best of a bad situation. Guest today, Australia's very own reigning Moto2 world champion, Remy Gardner. So very exciting for listeners and fans to be hearing from Remy. Always great to talk to Remy, isn't it? We're welcoming him in very soon. How are you, Fran? How's things at the circuit?
I am okay, and it's a pretty weird vibe. It's like a second Thursday, but nice and chilled at the moment. Everyone just patient, and we've got so many fun activities as well for those who were already here in Argentina, ready to come to the track today. Got fan zone, lots of different things, and of course a lot of live content for those joining us today as well throughout Friday, including this special one-off podcast with Remy. What should we do? Should we welcome yes, I was going to say, this is the moment. We'll welcome our Australian guest. Hi, Remy. Thank you so much on what could have potentially been a bit of a more relaxed day off for coming and joining us and talking to us on the internet. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. Definitely a bit more of a relaxing Friday than usual, but it's good. It gives us the opportunity to do stuff like this. So, my pleasure.
I like that, and said with zero sarcasm as well. Thanks for joining us. So obviously me and Matt Dunn spoke to you on the podcast before a couple of years ago now, if not a bit longer. And we covered a few topics there. We're not going to dive right into the backstory of, tell us when you first started riding a bike. But we thought now, of course, you've made it to the Premier class. As Elliott said in the intro, you're the reigning Moto2 world champion as well. Things have changed quite a lot for you since we last spoke to you. So first of all, the easy classic question, how is it being a MotoGP rider? Not only riding the bike, which is obviously so much faster, pretty different beast, but also having to do things like this and live content with us and just the kind of that step up and being part of the Premier class.
Yeah, well, to start off, I mean, the bike is pretty gnarly. Even we're 2 races in, and it still blows my mind how fast they are. But for sure, every weekend that I get back on the bike, it's a bit more normal, let's say. But I'm not sure I'll ever really get used to how fast these things are. They're pretty insane. But it's pretty cool. Everything's on another level. The tires, brakes, and electronics, and engine power, everything. So it's quite mind blowing. But step by step, I'm learning it, so which is good. But we're taking it step by step at the moment.
How big is the jump, Remy? I know you get asked the question a lot at the start of the season during pre-season, but just to make the listeners and watchers understand a little bit more, just how big the step up to Moto2 to MotoGP is. Obviously, it's a faster and bigger bike, but there's so much more to that, as you mentioned, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the Moto2 bike is, it's not a slow bike. It's actually, it's one of the quickest bikes in the world, and it's really just got nothing to do with what a GP bike is. It's so much different, and power-wise, and like I said before, electronic-wise is, insane the amount of controls that we have and sensors that are on the bike. And I think there's 60 plus sensors that are managing everything. So in that sense, the electronics are off, from another world. The brakes as well. We didn't have carbon brakes in Moto2, so the stopping power is just, again, crazy. And honestly, we're braking nearly where we would on the Moto2 bike at, doing 100 kilometers an hour faster sometimes, which is for me mind-boggling. But it takes a while to get used to.
I feel like when you put it like that, it gives you a much better idea for those who don't ride or who have only ridden 125s very slowly. That gives you a really better impression of truly the difference when you're going that much quicker, but just braking in the same place. But I should also say, everyone who is joining us on Twitch, you can ask Remy things in the Twitch chat as well. And if we like your questions, and there's some good ones, we'll try and ask him those. If you're listening on audio, you can always ask with the MotoGP hashtag, but might be a bit late by then. So yeah, obviously, like you said, you reigning Moto2 world champion, make that big step. There is something a little bit unique or kind of extra interesting as well with you and Raul, who are now obviously both at Tech 3. Last year you were fighting for the title. How is that? Because we know you had a very good relationship for most of last season. Few words exchanged around Valencia, as you'd expect when it reaches crunch time and everyone obviously wants to win. Now, how is it working with him in MotoGP? Do you think it's helped keep that kind of competition between you two to push yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, we started off the season, quite friendly, of course, and I think it never really got ugly. Let's say, I think we always had respect for each other, and we just tried to win the battle out on track. And of course, it got tense towards the end. That's for sure. It would, it's normal, and especially being in the same team sharing the box, it's tense. It was the last three races where you could cut the tension with a knife. So, but it never got ugly, and when it was over, it was finished. That was it. And honestly, yeah, I mean, we're back to being good mates, and it's good. And like you said, it's good having someone fast next to you to just keep you on your toes all the time. And I felt like we learn a lot from each other. He has a certain style, I have a certain style, and I think we can always take a leaf out of each other's page, depending on the corner and the track. But yeah, there's always for me something to learn from Raul, and I think him the same. And I think that's why last year especially we were so fast, because we were just pushing each other all the time, and I think that's why we were so really unstoppable last year. And I think it's good that I have him in the team this year to keep that same continuity, let's say, and hopefully keep me on my toes this year at the GP bike.
Like you say, you were unstoppable last year, both of you finishing the title miles ahead of third place. What's it like then going from, of course, Moto2 to MotoGP, but changing the mindset? Because obviously you were challenging for wins and podiums pretty much every race last year, but now maybe a couple of points is a very good result in MotoGP. What's the mindset change like? Is it difficult to sort of get used to that?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a different challenge now. Like you said, any points is a good Sunday for us now. Yeah, I mean, what you can't do is come in expecting the world. Obviously, it's a new class, it's a new bike, and we need time to learn everything. And the level in MotoGP at the moment is just from another world. It's probably one of the toughest and tightest years just yet. So yeah, I think you would just have to take it as it comes and keep working, and not get too disheartened if it doesn't happen on a Sunday. If we're not in the points, which for me, you just kind of have to keep calm, learn from what you need to improve on from the mistakes you made, and hopefully use those as building blocks to go forward. But it's a bit of a different mindset, that's for sure. It's a more keep your head down, work, and try to keep positive, even though you're not at the pointy end of the paddock. But that's okay. Just got to take it step by step. It's a long year, lots of races, so keep calm.
It is our most races ever. And you were the first rookie to score a point, I think by almost nothing. Was it like a few thousandths against Darren over the line in Qatar in the end? But you managed that already. You were the first one, like you said, to score that point. And you also started this season with that injury as well, and still feeling the effects of that, especially in testing. You said it was still a bit painful. Do you feel now, physically at least, you're kind of getting to where it's not bothering you too much and you're able to focus more on just the bike and the weekend rather than thinking too much about that?
Yeah, the testing was really tough for me. For the wrist, I think I was on the bike maybe I'm going to say 14 days after my operation. So unfortunately, the wrist is one of the worst things to break. It's the thing that takes most of the brunt force on the bike. So honestly, the recovery has been slower than expected. In Qatar, I was still feeling pain, and especially after the quali laps, it was really sore. Because we get a new tire in, the forces are just exponentially higher everywhere, and it was quite sore after quali. I got to say, in Indonesia, it made a small step forward, pain-wise, let's say, but it's still feeling it, and here I'm still feeling it. Kind of feels a bit like Indonesia. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be one of those injuries that go on for a while, that are a little bit niggly, and I've had them before, and in the end, I think it's going to be a good 6 months before it's back to perfect. But I can still ride, not too bad at the moment, and I think I'm just getting used to the pain, and it's not annoying me too much anymore.
We've had a question from Aki789. He says, "Hey Remy, what would you consider a good result here in Termas? Good luck on Sunday." Of course, it's the round where you picked up your first Grand Prix podium in 2018, I think, if that's right. What would you consider 2019? What would you consider a good result here?
I think, like I said before, points. If we can be in the points, I think that'd be a really good result. Like he stated before, it's the place where I got my first ever podium, so good memories here. I do enjoy this place a lot. It's a very fun track, and pretty much every bike I jump on here, I'm decently fast. So let's hope that's the same with the GP bike.
Well, we definitely hope it is the same with the GP bike. And like you said, you have had some success here already. And when I was writing the previews for this event, it's actually crazy how many people on the MotoGP grid do not have a lot of experience here. Even back to the rookie intake of Brad Binder and Alex Marquez, they've never ridden here on a MotoGP bike. Do you think that'll make a bit of a difference this weekend?
Yeah, some people have said that to me, but in the end, everyone's fast. Everyone's extremely talented, and the guys that have been riding the GP bikes understand how to get the most out of them. So I'm sure it's just going to be as tough as usual, to be honest, because that was kind of everyone's mindset for Indonesia. But it was still tough in Indonesia.
We've had another question, Remy, from Cautious Hale 142. Do you find your riding lines are much different on the MotoGP bike compared to the Moto2 bikes? Good luck this season, they say as well.
Yeah, it's very different actually. But the Moto2 is kind of let's say a cross between the Moto3 and a big bike line. But the GP bike is really, really different. There's just if you do hit a Moto2 line, you won't be able to get the traction you need to drive out of the corners. They just have so much power that you need to stand the bike up as quick as possible, and that really means making a very sharp V out of the corners. It's very different lines, but I quite enjoy it. It's a bit more fun for me, I think, that style of riding, let's say.
Well, that's good at least then. Even if you're feeling the pain a little bit still, you've got a bit more fun getting the power down there. I don't know if you can hear in the background now, a lot of bikes revving. I think you have it in the background for you as well, Remy.
Yeah, probably.
That distracted me quite a lot. Classic Argentina. What we were going to talk about as well, until we get another couple of questions live on Twitch, when you spoke to me and Matt Dunn before a few seasons ago, we talked about that huge crash that you'd had when you were in Moto2, and you had a few injuries, like you said, like getting used to the pain. You say it like a bit of a dark grimace, but unfortunately you have had a few injuries and also some incredible performances where you've ridden through the pain barrier. But you said at the time you wondered, like, should I just stop this? And what am I, can I really do this again and come back from it? Obviously, you've taken a world championship. You're now a Moto2 world champion forever. It's in the history books. Now you're in MotoGP. How does it feel now, looking back on that time from where you are, knowing that you've managed to make all of this happen and come back from it so well?
Yeah, I think all those hard times and all those broken bones and pain and tough days, tough Sundays, tough qualifying, and like you said, some quite dark years. But I think in the end, it's all lessons, and it's all experience that maybe I had to go through to ultimately become a world champion. For sure, I think it's developed me as a person and how I take on difficult situations. And deal with pressure and pain, like you said, and like this year, I'm trying to, more or less managing with the wrist and the pain, and in the end, we still managed to score a point in Qatar, even with the sore wrist. So yeah, it's not a too big deal for me at the moment, and yeah, I'm just kind of riding through it. And like I said, I think I've learned from the past, but yeah, if you look really where I've come from, it's a bit of a miracle story to be honest. I did manage to score the world championship, but yeah, kind of proud, let's say.
So we've had another question from Hugh J Noose 24. I hope I've said that right. They want to know how strict is a MotoGP training program. Obviously, you guys are like Olympic athletes these days. It's very different to what it was maybe 15, 20 years ago and further back. And they also say, are you allowed to have a party sometimes?
Yeah. Me personally, I'm not too strict on the training program, let's say.
Do you think it's made a difference for you because you've always been a little bit bigger, taller, and like a bit more built than a lot of guys that are on the MotoGP grid, and especially on the Moto2 bikes? Do you think that has helped you now? Do you feel like you fit a bit better in the MotoGP class and you got a bit more of an advantage from that instead of it always being something that you're trying to compensate for?
Yeah, I've definitely got a bit of a bigger upper body structure, really just naturally, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie, I've probably haven't been to a gym in maybe 6 years. I haven't been pushing weights for a long time. So I do train, I do ride a lot, and I'm probably in the winter, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week on the bike, whether it's trials or motocross. I'm not going to do anymore, but trials or dirt track or supermoto or enduro, trying to mix it up a bit. That's for sure. I do get on the bike a lot, but yeah, I'm not one to go out and do 300 kilometers on a bicycle, let's say. But yeah, and regarding gym and strength wise, I kind of just get that naturally, and just from riding, just gives me pretty much what I need. I was expecting to maybe have to do something with the GP bike, but for now seems okay, to be honest. But yeah, let's see when we get to a bit more physical track how it is. But at the moment it's okay. And parties, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're allowed to party when we want. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge partier, but when I do party, I go for it. But that's for sure. But yeah, I prefer to just sit back with a few friends with a beer, to be honest.
Yeah, don't we all sometimes? I mean, for you guys, it's a lot harder than us. Like, you're riding the bike and racing, so I can imagine the amount of calories you burn throughout a weekend. It's almost like if you have a few beers on a Sunday night or a Monday or whatever, doesn't really affect you too much because you're going to train it off by cycling during the week or whatever you do, and then obviously at the next GP. So as long as you're not partying every day, I think it doesn't matter too much, does it?
No, exactly. I mean, it's after a good result, usually it's just we have a pretty big party on Sunday night. And yeah, I mean, diet-wise, I don't really follow too much of a diet anyway. Just try not to eat complete shit, and just more or less behave and yeah, And like you said, if I'm riding or whatever and keeping fit and keeping active, like you said, you pretty much burn it all off anyway.
I enjoy basically your definition of MotoGP training life is just like more or less behave. That's perfect. Okay, Remy, I think we will let you go now because I think you do have to go and have lunch and get ready for whatever else we've got planned for you today. I think you've got a TV interview, we've got fan zone stuff. Everyone's going to see the fans as well. Thank you so much for joining us. One final question before you go. We had a poll running in the Twitch chat of who will be leading the championship after the Americas GP. Who do you think it might be after the next two races?
Who's leading it now?
Now it's Bastianini by 2 points ahead of Binder. And then I think Fabio, Miguel, and not sure who's next.
I'm going to say Binder, the KTM squad. No.
As soon as I said that, I was like, well, I think I can look at the answer. Okay, right. Thank you so much, Remy. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. And have a good day. Enjoy this strange Friday, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, there you go then. So a little bit biased answer from KTM. Of course, that it will be a KTM. But what do we think, Elliott? First of all, it was nice to have Remy on, wasn't it? Like I said, it's been a while since we've had him on a podcast or done like a sort of a deeper dive chat. And yeah, a lot's changed since he was struggling to get that first win and some more Moto2 podiums.
Yeah, I think if you'd have said 3 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, before he joined Red Bull KTM IO, that he'd be a world champion and moving up to MotoGP, a lot of people might have acted surprised. But he's always had that promise, hasn't he? Especially in the latter 2 years with the SAG team, he showed some promise. And then obviously 2021 with the IO squad alongside Raul Fernandez was, pretty mind-blowing, to be honest. Almost perfect. Obviously, he went and won the title, so you can say it was a perfect season. So, great to talk to Remy, and let's hope the rookies can start to edge their way towards the top 10 and maybe even more. But it's ridiculously hard for them nowadays, isn't it? Because like Remy touched upon, it's the most competitive field we've ever seen. A couple of tenths here and there, and you could be dropping about 10 places. So you got to feel sorry for the likes of Remy and the rookies. It's incredible.
It is pretty crazy, isn't it? I think it's. I was writing something before earlier on. I think it was a golden era of close competition. I always refer to it as. But genuinely, it's incredible when you look at what the gaps used to be like. You'd be 6 seconds off the win in second, and now you're like struggling to get into the top 10 after however many 100 and something kilometers of a racetrack. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, like we said, Remy has scored that point already. Darren Binder took the first rookie top 10, didn't he, in Indonesia? No thanks to a bit of an elbow nudge from Remy's tip for the title lead after America's Brad Binder. But going back to that poll then, in the chat we had 67% Quartararo, 17% Bastianini and 17% Oliveira. What do you make of that, and who do you think will be leading the championship after the America's GP?
$1 million question that is, isn't it? There's 10
Probably
riders
more.
split by 10 points. I was about to say, I wouldn't say Fabio necessarily because of Cota, but he did finish second there last year. But I think this year they've got a little bit more of a speed deficit than they did in 2021. That's a great question. I'd probably say Brad Binder.
I like how well prepared you are with your answer.
Yeah. I'll go Brad Binder. I'll agree with Remy. I think KTM are looking really strong. I'll go Brad Binder. What do you reckon?
I would be hard pressed to disagree at the moment, because obviously Bastianini, he's got to ride the bike here and at Cota with a lot less experience than some of the others. Yeah. Like you say, Yamaha top speed deficit, how will that play into it? I think as well, we've seen Alex Rins is the only other rider other than Marquez to have won at COTA. That's probably, I don't know, could be an interesting one as well. But there's so many contenders, and like you say, okay, Bastianini's still leading the championship, is by 2 points, which doesn't sound like much. But then when you look a little bit further down the table, even with just that win in Indonesia, I think Oliveira moved up 16 places in one day. It's still so close. Obviously, early in the season, maximum of 50 points have been given out so far, but still, it's been such up and down. I don't know who we can say, but at the moment, certainly KTM looking super strong, and with a little bit lower grip track here, we'll have to see how the cookie crumbles. And of course, without this weekend confirmed for certain, the king of Argentina, more times than anyone else, Marc Marquez. So it will be an interesting weekend, won't it? If you disagree with us and you think we're incredibly wrong, please let us know once you listen to this on audio platforms of your choice, and get in touch. Yeah, be kind, but feel free, open the debate, tell us why we're wrong, and by then as well we will probably have seen the Argentina GP, and we'll know certainly a little bit of what's to come in the next couple of races. But yeah, it's a bit strange, this one, isn't it? What do we talk about now without having had the race weekend? But it's already so many headlines this week, with obviously what we've had happening in the paddock, and then Nakagami, we must wish best wishes to him, get well soon, who tested positive for COVID. Then we have Marc Marquez waiting to see when he may be back on track. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be an interesting weekend, but I think the main thing again is just going to be that unpredictability, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've not had any track action, but MotoGP in 2022 is the definition of unpredictable, because we're sat here on Friday evening for me, Friday afternoon, I think, for you guys. We should be getting ready for FP2, but instead we're just watching the flight tracker, waiting for a plane to land in Tucumán, I think it is, or in Argentina anyway. So yeah, pretty unprecedented times. But yeah, once we get track action away this weekend, I think it's going to be incredible, because it's almost like a clean slate, isn't it? Because we've not been here for the last couple of years. There's a lot of riders who haven't been here on the bikes they're riding. So this weekend I was really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow and Sunday as well. So yeah, unpredictable is how I describe the championship at the minute, but we knew that was going to be the case anyway, didn't we? So yeah, looking forward to Argentina, and then yeah, hopefully we get Taka and Mark back for the Americas GP. Wishing them both well. And that just makes it even more unpredictable, doesn't it? So, yeah, all good.
It does indeed. Yeah, there's so much to look forward to. I think, I don't know. Alex Rins could be an interesting one to watch over the next couple of weekends. He's one of the only riders on the grid who has ridden this track a few times on the same bike. Well, obviously previous iterations, but with the same factory as he returns now, got experience here and took his first MotoGP podium here. But I was talking to someone from Suzuki in Indonesia, and I was like, that looks like it might be a good track for you. It was like, not immediately like yes, because it is a lower grip track, which sometimes is a bit more of a challenge for the Hamamatsu factory, but we'll have to see, because I think it seems like there's so much more potential from Suzuki than we've seen so far this season. And obviously it'd be interesting to see Yamaha as well, because that podium put Fabio right back in the fight at the top of the table, but it was in the wet. However, he also looked like the guy to beat in the dry, despite that much more kind of difficult opening weekend to 2022. So I don't know. Unpredictability is the name of the game, but we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. We can't really predict anything because we don't know obviously what's going to happen, but it's very hard to predict it this year, like has been
I like that as a phrase. We
Yeah.
can't predict anything because we don't know what's going to happen. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, come back here for more insight like that. Yeah, I mean, Rins is a great one to look out for because, like you say, he's podiumed here in Argentina and obviously won in Austin. So you'd think on paper these two tracks are going to really suit the Spaniard and Suzuki. But yeah, who knows? This is the great thing about our sport, isn't it? It's not, we can't really say with confidence who's going to be on the podium this weekend because we could get that completely wrong. The podium from Indonesia, they might barely scrape top 10s or top 6s this weekend. It's just how it is, and that's why we love this sport so much, isn't it? So yeah, looking forward to track action getting underway tomorrow and Sunday for sure. It's going to be a busy one for sure. Great for the fans, especially Saturday with all that action. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. And yeah, it will be a very long Saturday. If you are with us on Twitch now, please join us for all of that on Saturday. And if you are listening on the audio platform of your choice, thank you very much. Like we said, you can also get in touch with us with the hashtag MotoGP podcast. Once you've listened to the episode, let us know what you think, anything you want to add. Who do you want us to talk to in future? This one's been a bit of a different one, and Remy was gracious enough to give us a little chunk of his day today. But who do you want to hear from? Who haven't we spoken to? Let us know, and we will do our best throughout 2022 to bring more guests live on Twitch and then across podcast platforms. But I think for today, like we say, on this extra special episode, that's pretty much all we can go through at the moment. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and thanks to everyone who asked a question and who voted in the poll. Get in touch with us. Thank you very much for joining us. And I think that's ciao for now from Termas de Rio Hondo.